Hey, good morning. This is Joe Van Cleve, and it's a beautiful Sunday morning in Albuquerque, kind of cool. And I want to talk today about finding your writing groove with manual typewriters. The biggest thing you should think about is the choice of your typewriter that you're going to be using. The typewriter has to do with how well you can write with the machine you're using. Now, a lot of people like portable machines. This here is a brother-made XL747 Webster. A lot of people think that medium-sized typewriters are probably better writing tools, and they're probably right. But there are some aspects to writing with portable typewriters that might spur you on to more creativity. One of the main things about choosing which typewriter to use, I think the most important thing is that, number one, it meets your needs, your personal likes about the typewriter. Now, one of the other aspects about choosing your typewriter for writing purposes is the font size, because typewriters come in a variety of sizes, typically Pica or Elite or something in between. You have to decide for yourself which font size works best for you, is least distracting for the kind of writing you do. And that's going to dictate the kind of machine that you're using. Now, keep in mind that in this post-typewriter era we live in, a lot of typewriter fanatics like me and a lot of others tend to collect more than one machine. And as a writer, that's actually a good thing, because this means you have a variety of machines to choose from. You don't have just one machine. So you want to choose a machine that fits you as well as it can for the purposes of doing long durations of writing, okay? And along with that, I think one of the other aspects of choosing a typewriter as a writing tool is you want reliability. Mechanical reliability, in my viewpoint, actually counts greater than the touch or the feel of it. And I'll testify, for instance, to this little brother-made typewriter, this little blue thing. It's a portable. It's not one of the really fine medium-sized machines like your Hermes and your Olympias or whatever, or Smith Coronas. But you know what? This is a reliable machine. It doesn't have any mechanical problems, never has a hiccup, a glitch, or anything. And to me, that matters a lot because it doesn't interrupt from my writing process. I can kind of live with the fact that the feel of the keys is a little heavier than some of the other machines, and it's a little more mechanical feeling and not quite as smooth. I can live with that if it doesn't distract from the writing. Okay, another thing that's important for you to consider for doing long, extended durations of writing, for getting in the groove of being a writer with a typewriter, is the posture, your writing position or typing position. For many people, this means finding a really good office chair and a really good desk and getting the height set just perfectly to both, so your hands and arms are at the exact right height that you want for really long durations of writing. You know, there's some old instructional videos of typing that are out on YouTube nowadays from back in the World War II era and all that have a lot of interesting tips for how to set up your writing situation. This particular setup right here, I'm in a kind of a wicker easy chair and a folding wooden tray table. You know, it's not ideal, and there are some compromises to it, but one of the things I find about this setup is it's relaxing, and I have this nice room that is kind of inspirational. I like the little blue typewriter. I can really bang out a lot of stuff with it, so it's okay. And I can write with it, and I can move the table around if I want to different locations around my house, your backyard, out in my man cave shed or whatever. So along with having the perfect typing posture, sometimes you have to compromise on that in order to get other aspects of your writing situation settled in your mind. Wherever you decide to set up your typewriter on whatever surface, I always advise that you use a typing pad. Basically, you don't want the typewriter sliding around on the tabletop. Now, a lot of older machines had rubber feet of some kind, and often though the rubber is hard and smooth and doesn't really grip the tabletop, you don't have to necessarily go buy one off the internet that's custom typing pads. This right here is a thin fabric mat with a rubber backing, and it's the kind that you get at a hardware store. And it's probably a thin floor matting kind of thing. Now, the other thing you want to think about as an accessory to typing, to getting in the groove, is you want to be able to decide how are you going to manage typographical errors. So you have a choice. You can either ignore the errors, like just keep typing and you know what you meant. If you misspell the word, or the letters are jumbled around, or something mechanical happened and the letters are piled on top of one another, or whatever, you know what you meant to type, and you're going to read it anyways and probably do some editing afterwards, so maybe you don't really need to do any correcting at all. Or maybe you like to do strike-throughs, well, this way to the camera, or maybe you like to X out and retype, or maybe you like to use correction tape. Now, I've covered correction tape cartridges in a previous episode, and I'm still continuing to use several different brands of the Staples correction tape, and I'll give you an update later. But correction tape is a really nice thing too if you really need the piece that you're working on, whether it's a rough draft or not, you might need it to be corrected. Just maybe that's the way you are. Maybe it bothers you to have typographical errors. Fine. Figure out what works for you. If you like correction tape, use it, right? Okay, the other thing is the kind of paper. So I have two general kinds of paper that I use to write with. Number one is this Mead, what used to be Mead typing paper. It's now called Mead multi-purpose paper, and the UPC product code is 43100391100. You can get a decent price if you buy it in bulk packs. They come in packs of 100. If you buy like a 5, 10, or a dozen packs at a time, it's cheaper. I like that for individual sheets of typing, but for really typing in the groove, and I've covered this on a previous episode, nothing beats the roll of teletype paper. That will get you in the writing groove faster than anything, because you don't have to stop at the end of the line to change the paper. You just keep typing and slinging the carriage back and typing. And I've had 3 or 4 feet long of continuous single space typings, and it's just a wonderful thing to do. So let's talk about the typing environment. What kind of environment do you like to write in? Some people like it dead quiet. No distraction. Maybe a dark room at night with just a single desk lamp. Other people need classical music or jazz or something going on in the background. Some people really like the noise and distraction of coffee shops and public places like that. Just the hum and the bustle in the background, kind of, you can drown it out enough that it still gives you kind of inspiration to think and create. Find the kind of environment you like best for writing and do that. Now, some people are distracted by fears. Like, if you're typing in a quiet house, a quiet room, late at night, and you're worried about the sound your typewriter makes that might distract family members who are sleeping, or maybe even your neighbors if you live in an apartment situation, that can actually distract you from your writing if you're self-conscious about the typing itself. So think about the environment, where you're writing, the time of day or night. That has a lot to do with how well you can write. Now, another thing is accessories, okay? So accessories like dictionaries and thesaurus. Here you go. Here's a good accessory, the Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. There's also a companion thesaurus that I have that goes with this. You've probably seen this on my office bookshelf in previous videos. But having a good dictionary handy is really good. Another option I do when I'm traveling out to coffee shops and writing in public is I have a little electronic Franklin pocket dictionary that is also handy. But it's good to have a dictionary and also a thesaurus to look up words. That's part of your tools of a writer. The other thing you might think about as far as tools or accessories is A document holder. If you're writing from transcribing handwritten notes like that were in a notebook or something, you might want to have a document holder next to you. Now, of course, when you're typing on a tray table like this, you don't have any room for a document holder, so this will dictate in part the kind of writing environment you're going to be in. But a document holder next to the typewriter is a really handy thing, right, for putting up a notebook and transcribing. So then the other thing about typewriters, okay, is we talked earlier about a lot of the different aspects of what works best for you as far as the kind of typewriter. The other thing is whether you like to write in one place all the time or whether you want to be portable. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. The advantages of a fixed typewriter are, first of all, you can use a bigger typewriter because generally the bigger typewriters type better. It's not always universally true, but that's true mostly. So if you have a nice writer's room and a nice desk and you set it up just perfectly the way you like it, that's your writing situation. You like a fixed situation. Me, on the other hand, I kind of like portability because I like to go to different parts of the house. My patio room, my office, my backyard, my man cave shed underneath the tree, take it out to a park. Having it on a tray table with my roll of paper mounted on it underneath already, I can just pick it up and carry it around the house. I kind of like the portability for myself. And that means for me that I'm sacrificing the ability to use my nicest machines, the bigger, medium-sized machines. I'm sacrificing that for the sake of portability. Machines that are a little bit smaller, not quite as good of a typer, but for me it's a trade-off. Okay, so there's trade-offs you have to make, but that helps me get in the groove. Man, I did a typing session on this little brother last weekend in the man cave shed, and it was fantastic. I was inspired. In fact, I wrote a blog article about it. And I came up with a roll of paper on this scroll that was about 3 or 4 feet long. It was great. So that's the kind of thing that inspires me is maybe the environment I'm in more so than the kind of machine it is. Okay. This is another area where I really like to type at, and it's inspirational for me and helps enable my writing process, is being able to move the typewriter on the tray table with the roll of teletype paper to some inspirational outdoor setting like my little patch of green lawn in the backyard here, or over adjacent to the tree by the man cave shed. Having a place that you can just go to write that's inspirational is really important for the writing process, whatever works for you. Some typewriters just inspire me better than others to be writing. And it's not always the typewriters that you would think. It's not always the medium-sized, bigger typewriters with great feel and touch. Not always. You know what? This little brother typewriter inspires me, even though it has a slightly heavy feel and it has carriage shift. It still inspires me. My Smith Corona Silence and Silence Super, those typewriters inspire me because of the touch, right? So find the kind of typewriter that inspires you. That's going to help you as a writer. Now, another thing about getting in the groove with typewriters is purpose-fit machines. What I mean by this is there are some machines in my collection that do one particular thing better than another. Like, for instance, my bigger Olivetti Underwood 21 is really good for typing up lists. In fact, the notes for this video was typed up with it, and one of the reasons why I think it is because it's a larger size pica font, which is better for me for list making. So I have that typewriter in the office and I have it set up all the time and I use it for list making. So then I find the smaller elite size font is really good for first draft or rough draft writing. It's just inspirational. You can fit more words on a line. You don't have to do the carriage return as often. So there are certain kinds of machines that work better for certain parts of the writing process, and you'll have to discover those for yourself. And it's also another good reason why you want to have more than one machine in your collection. Finally, find your own path as a typewriting writer. Don't necessarily follow the advice of everybody on the internet and the typosphere about you got to have an Olympia or you got to have a Hermes. It's not necessarily true. Find what works for you. Okay, find what works for you, which means you're going to have to do some experimentation. And finally, don't believe anything I've told you. Go and check it out for yourself. Find your own writing groove. Until next time, this is Joe Van Cleve, and have yourself a great day.